Mac Jones going third overall.
Now the screen's back up, apparently. It's just a bug in it today or something. It just happens sometimes.
I retweeted it once already.
Oh, yeah. We were
idea.
sitting here this morning and.
But see, now it's just, is it supposed to look like that?
That's what we're going through this one. It comes on and it goes off. It comes on, it goes off.
...2009, and LSU had won 8 straight overall. And another thing, and look, LSU, they're not used to being 1-5. They're better than. And LSU had 4 walk-off wins coming into the game. Well, Tennessee walked them off twice in one day as they had the completed game after the suspension from the Lightning on Saturday. And Drew Gilbert had heroics with a RBI double to tie it, to send it into extra innings in the 9th. And he comes back up and hits a walk-off solo home run to win the first game. And then Luke Lipsius has an RBI single in what was extra innings, the 8th, in a 7-inning game, to walk off that one as well. And Sean Hundley, their reliever, picked up 2 wins in one day. So he pitched in all 3 games in relief. So they're really good with their starters on Friday and Sunday. They have a couple of really reliable relievers. They're not really deep because a lot of their young players, they've been in so many close games in non-conference, hadn't really played a ton of guys. But I do think they still have some guys that are capable, just not really proven. They have to figure out the Saturday starter because Will Heflin hasn't been going deep in ball games. But, man, they're really good Friday and Sunday. It's kind of a shame that they lost Jackson Leith, who might have been their best arm, a guy that's turned down real money from the Major League Baseball draft a couple of times. He hurt his hamstring, and Tony Vitello said recently he's out for the year.
Oh, wow.
They had that guy to start with. They haven't lost a Friday game all year.
Mm-hmm.
They're unbeaten in extra innings, and they would have had that guy who is good as anyone in the conference returning. They would have been really lights out. But right now, they're still a very good club, and Tony Vitello, man, he has got this team fighting for them, fighting for him, and playing hard and coming together. It's pretty fun to see a really good outfit on campus right now, considering all the struggles that Tennessee fans have dealt with in a lot of the big sports.
Yeah, and the thing, though, is this is SEC baseball, and we are just 2 weekends into this thing, and I mean, it is going to be a marathon of a season.
Oh,
Yeah, it really is, Vince. It's such a meat grinder. Alabama coming in 15-9. They've lost 6 straight. They've been ranked for much of the year, but they've got injuries. And you talked about Tennessee's depth. Alabama certainly doesn't have enough depth to withstand them. Last weekend they didn't have two of their top 3 guys on the mound, Connor Prelip, and then of course they did not have Antoine Jean, the lefty, and Chase Lee, their ace reliever, was not available. We don't know yet who will be available this weekend, but certainly they're kind of taking a knife to a gunfight against a really, really good Tennessee team right now.
Yeah, and teams like Alabama and LSU. I mean, LSU, they have a couple of key guys out of their lineup as well. One of their position players, and then Beck, one of their top bullpen guys. So, but they're sitting there at 1-5, and they're staring Vanderbilt in the face.
Wow!
For this weekend. So, I mean, you dig yourself a hole, you get swept, and you're suddenly 1-8. I mean, that kind of applies for Alabama too. You gotta find a way. You cannot keep losing series early in the year and then expect that you're going to dig yourself out of a hole and come back. It's not like in football where, okay, you play tough first half of a SEC schedule, and then maybe in the second half, you get Vanderbilt or somebody else that's not very good. You can work your way out of it. It's not the case in this league. Even the teams that have a backward schedule are still really good. So it's it will be very difficult. They have to figure out a way, Alabama, to win that series. And look, Tennessee, they've been very consistent this year, so they haven't really shown the flaws of a team that can go the other way. But man, the competition in this league is as good as it's ever been, with all the returning players from the shortened draft and the eligibility, and then everybody recruits on a high level as well.
Really, I mean, if you can go 2-1 in a weekend, that is
just don't win a series.
That is a great feeling. I mean, especially now. I mean, heck, even if you could go 1-2 sometimes, at least you got to get at least one win a weekend.
Yeah, and you know what? That's why Tennessee coach Tony Vitello has kept Blade Tidwell. He was really highly regarded, true freshman, incredible stuff, probably the best on the squad now that Leaf is out, and he was up there anyway. But he's been awesome on Sundays. So they win on Fridays and Sundays, but he's kept it that way, I think, in part because he knows that those Sundays are so important, because a lot of times the series comes down to that. And if you maybe win on Saturday, like Tennessee did against LSU, then it's a bonus. You can go for a sweep. But it also gives them an advantage on that Sunday against other people's Sunday starters, even though those guys are getting better with the pitching depth. But you move a pitcher like that up, and you might lose a really close game, and then you have your best pitcher that threw a gem, and maybe you come out on the wrong side. Now you have a chance to lose on Sunday if you have to go Johnny Allstaff on Sunday if you don't have a starter that can go deep. So it's kind of why he's kept that philosophy to keep Tidwell, who's been lights out on Sundays.
and just a great start for Tennessee baseball. And now to switch gears, the first spring for, of course, the new regimen at Tennessee football-wise, just underway for spring practice. And for Josh Heupel and staff, what are the early impressions of UT football under this new staff? And not really high expectations though, because of all the attrition and the transfer portal. And we'll talk about that portal in just a second. But the early returns, as far as a couple of practices in for the Vols.
Well, I'd say positive for a couple of reasons. One, this coaching staff is very different than the previous coaching staff, right? I mean, we talked about philosophy and how they have tempo and pace on offense. They're going to really attack and go down the field while still trying to have a power run game. And that's very different than what they've had before. So from a fun standpoint, I think it's going to be a lot more fun for the players on offense. Already, Valus Jones Jr., the returning receiver and return specialist, he said, "Man, this offense is a receiver's dream." And then, obviously, if Tennessee has results and is putting up points and yards, it's going to be more fun for fans, especially considering the absolute snail of an offense they've had over the last couple of years. So from that standpoint is good. Also, the players have talked about having more fun. Jacob Warren and Alante Taylor talked about after the first practice how they talked about it in the locker room, how much fun they just had. He just said it was still hard work, but it was fun. And it's not they do team building stuff. They do, fun things, scattered in practice, but then they still get after it and get to work. And this coaching staff has a different philosophy of connecting with their players for buy-in more so than the previous staff that was so regimented. Football. This is serious business. And I'm not saying they're just running around, just doing whatever, but I think if you mix some of those things in with today's player, with this younger staff, I think you get them to buy in and connect more. And the buy-in aspect has been something that Heupel has talked about, the players have talked about, and Heupel mentioned the chemistry between the coaches and the players that he has seen in practice, and even prior to, because they've been together for a while, even if they haven't had official practices. So that's been the biggest thing. And then also just an observation of the coaches. We've talked to Heupel and Alex Golish, the offensive coordinator. They're actually mentioning players by name and who's been impressive and who's done well. And it might have taken Jeremy Pruitt year 2 before he ever mentioned a player by name. I mean, we couldn't get him to spit out Garantano one time, even though he was asked about it every meeting with the media. He just wouldn't go there. He was talked in general. So this coaching staff isn't paranoid, apparently, in that way. They'll say, yeah, Jabari Small has been one of the most impressive guys. And, the couple of the tight ends, Jacob Warren, Austin Pope, he thought had done a nice job. So he's mentioned other players. So that's kind of been refreshing from a media standpoint. And then one other quick thing, I think Alex Golish has come across as authentic. Look, everybody compliments players, especially early on. You haven't had any adversity, you haven't lost any games. I get it. Everything is happy and good. But just the way Golish talks and a number of the other coaches on the staff, I think it comes across as more genuine, like truly like this is what I see. This is what we're talking to them about. And I think that is refreshing for the players, and I think that probably resonates with them. It stood out to me, so I would imagine that it connects with them, especially considering how regimented and much different it was for them with the previous staff.
Yeah, they've also done a good job of at least those that are around the area of reaching out to the alumni and bringing them in for spring practices, letting them watch a little bit of spring football.
Yes, and the media is allowed into practices, although that hasn't happened just yet because weather has forced them indoors. And when they're in the indoor facility, just from a social distancing standpoint, those practices need to be closed. But they are allowing one media member per outlet to go to practices. So there is some of that. Hopefully that will expand at some point, maybe for the spring game or in the fall. But yes, he is more open. Heupel is to giving some access, and then also availability. Like they're making this week, I think we're going to have 4 different interview sessions. Getting a couple of coaches today, a number of players tomorrow, Heupel on Friday. So we've already talked to the head coach and the OC and a bunch of players. So they're working towards trying to be more media friendly. It's not an open book by any means, especially because of COVID, but it is a better access than we saw with the previous staff.
No question about it. It's got to be a media guy's dream so far, but I've got to ask you too. The report came out last week about Henry To'oTo'o and Quavarius Crouch yet again about their futures with Tennessee in the portal. We're still hearing mid-April, around April 17th, that this transfer rule will be put in place for interconference transfers. The word we're getting is the SEC will allow it. What is the actual update? You would know better than anyone on Henry To'oTo'o and Quavarius Crouch.
Yeah, I don't see them returning. I know that Heupel has been asked about it, and he hasn't closed the door on it. But anytime Heupel or any of the coaches are asked about those guys, they quickly turn it around and say, "Hey, we're worried about the guys that are here." And a lot of the players have even been asked about those 2 guys. Lante Taylor said he talks to both of them every other day, pretty much. And they would welcome them back, but also no hard feelings if they want to do something else and go somewhere else. So I think that's kind of the deal, that it's up to them. If they decide to come back, they'd be welcome. But if not, then that's all good too. There's talk about them being on campus, Henry To'oTo'o, especially being on campus. I didn't think that was a big deal to begin with, even if he was finishing off, classes of the semester in person when he was doing online classes from California. But I just think it is the way they've talked about them, and all of the discussion from Henry T's father and all the interest from other people, and I just don't see him coming back or Quavarius Crouch. And look, those are losses because those are 2 highly coveted guys in recruiting that now you don't have a chance to see how they would fit in this different defense. But in his talent, they have no returning starters on at the linebacker position. I have no idea what they're going to do at Mike linebacker, to be honest with you. So it would definitely be a loss, but I don't see either of those 2 guys coming back, even though verbally that door has not been closed by the coaching staff.
Let's move on to basketball real fast. We were talking about Alabama's run, and we were talking about how disappointing the end was, not the season. How do we classify Tennessee's run in the NCAA tournament? Does it end in obviously a disappointment because you didn't win the whole thing, but is it a disappointing season, or it was just a disappointing loss?
It was a disappointing season. There's no way to sugarcoat it. The run that Oregon State went on, I don't think has any impact on fans' disappointment. I know logically it should. You should say, well, maybe that was a really good team that Tennessee's happened to go up against, and they're you have to give Oregon State credit. Tennessee fans, I think they've got their opinion on this team, and I don't necessarily disagree that it was disappointing, but I don't see them budging off of it, because guess what? When they had the previous disappointments, including the loss to Loyola Chicago, when they had Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield and more NBA players on that team, it doesn't matter that Loyola Chicago went on a deep run and they had Sister Jean and all that. They're an unbelievable story. Tennessee fans still bring that up in terms of disappointment as is. It's about Tennessee, and there's still a number of NBA players on this roster, and Tennessee didn't perform well. Plus, you have Rick Barnes' track record of not having the greatest tournament record, and they group that all together, and that's how it's viewed. I'm not saying it's 100% everybody is mad. Some are just disappointed and, think that it didn't work out. But this team, even though they weren't as good as we thought they were going into the year, still no reason for them to play like they did against Oregon State when they reverted back to their ways of the regular season struggles after looking better in the SEC tournament and then the season finale against Florida. But, I think also with Rick Barnes, fans constantly bring up his contract. And when you make the kind of money that Rick Barnes does, it doesn't matter. You need to deliver, and you need to deliver big. He's one of the highest paid coaches in the country, and that's something that fans constantly bring up. His record comparison is there is no comparison to what Mick Cronin has done at UCLA. And in the 2 years that I don't have the exact number in front of me, but in the 2 years that Cronin has been at UCLA since Barnes passed on that job, Cronin has a much better overall record, conference record, and obviously gone on this run to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament as well. So fans, note those kind of things. So absolutely, it was a disappointment throughout the entire season because this was supposed to be a weekend that Tennessee had reached at the minimum with the talent that fans saw that they had and the potential that they had.
Yeah, and Kennedy Chandler, a Memphis native, is signed with Tennessee, to five-star point guard. But what is this roster going to look like around him? Because I know expectations are still going to be very high next year to make a run.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I've said this during the year. I think next year's team is going to be much, much different, and it's already working in that direction. Jaden Springer, one of the two talented five-star freshmen, he's declared for the NBA draft, and he's hiring an agent. He's in some first-round mock drafts. Keon Johnson, who's been in the top 10 in some mock drafts, just a matter of time before he goes. I don't see any way he's coming back. Already had two other players that were bench players that didn't play a whole lot, and Devontae Gaines and Drew Pember, that have announced that they're going in the transfer portal. E. Pons, I think he's definitely going to pro ball when he could have done it last year and came back and did not get better. John Fulkerson, the way he talked, it didn't sound like he was returning, even though the way his season ended and the way he loves Tennessee and the fact that I don't think he's going to be an NBA player. He said he's only going to, if he comes back, if he plays, it's only going to be at Tennessee or go pro. But things change. I would not expect him back either. And there could be other guys that didn't play a whole lot that could leave. So this team is going to need to add in the transfer portal. And I think it's going to look much different. It's going to be Kennedy Chandler, and it's going to be Vescovi, and we'll see on who else stays. But Kennedy Chandler is not going to have, unless they are very successful in the transfer portal, not going to have a ton of guys. They have a 4-star from last year's class in Corey Walker that didn't play this year because he missed time with an injury, and then I think some COVID protocols. So maybe he could develop, but it's going to be a much different looking team. They're excited about Chandler, and they should be, because like you said, he's elite. But it's going to be a much different Tennessee team, and the expectations are going to be there for Rick Barnes because of his contract, because of the disappointment of several of his coach teams, for him to figure it out and find a way. And you have to be successful in the transfer portal to rework this roster, and then it has to come together on top of that.
No doubt. Well, Vince, great stuff as always covering Tennessee. Great to catch up with you. Hope you and your family have a great Easter coming up on Sunday. But let everybody know how to connect with you and all your work. And, of course, we'll be you guys will be bringing us Vol and Bama baseball this weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's been a super busy week. But you can follow me on Twitter at Vince Sports. And if you go to ESPN Plus or the SEC Network Plus, you can find a couple of softball games that I called a doubleheader on the app yesterday. And then also got MMA this weekend at VFCMMA.com will be our pay-per-view that I'll be on the call on this Friday. And just goes on and on with so much going on right now. It's a fun time of year. And then our website, 991thesportsanimal.com, has all of the interviews from Tennessee that we get up there on a pretty much a daily basis. So appreciate everyone checking all that out.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks, Vince.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Appreciate it. And enjoy the holiday as well.
All right. Vince Ferrara with us. Let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up hour number 1.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
A wreck reported on 72 westbound west of Moores Mill, coming up the backside of Chapman Mountain. That one did have an injury involved. Should be about ready.
You got me.
And we've got repair work scheduled on the Tennessee River Bridge, northbound right lane. I'd expect that to be blocked off just after 8 o'clock this morning. They'll be in place there until at least noon. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Greg lost 92 pounds in 6 months on the plan. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, if you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself.
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
There's nothing worse than overhype, so we won't go overboard telling you how Taco Bell's Quesalupa is back with its cheese-stuffed shell. We'll skip the Quesalupa air shows and making a statue in honor of how there's cheese in every bite. Marvelous. And we won't send one to the moon. Instead, we'll pass on all the fanfare and just tell you Taco Bell's Quesalupa has returned, and we think you'll like it. At participating locations for a limited time.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. From Coleman to Fayetteville and all points in between.
Don, pull the hammer back. Smokey's coming at you in a plain white wrapper.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Okay, here we go, 4.5.
I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation. Hey, I'm on vacation.
We are not on vacation,
but I do love my occupation.
Look at that. We can rhyme with the song. We can do it. No, we're not on vacation. There's a lot of sports talk going on. We got to get you up to date. And obviously, the big one is from last night. That is half of the final field is set for the Final Four. And 2 games, and it's been a long time for both teams that won last night to get in. Mm-hmm. First, Houston gets by Oregon State, 67-61. First Final Four for them since 1984. And then Baylor, for the first time in 71 years, they get by Arkansas 81-72 to get to the Final Four. 1950, last time Baylor Bears had been to the Final Four. So a long time coming for both teams. Baylor, the team, Drew, we expected to be in the Final Four. Houston, the team. Alabama could have played in the regular season. Right. We didn't know if they would get to the Final Four, I should say. So I guess you could say one of the teams for sure we thought, the other one we didn't know.
Baylor 1950, Houston Vice Lamajama, which was 1984. The last time they get to the Final Four. So, and then the interesting part is with the coaches left, Scott. This was pointed out last night.
Right.
You got Michigan tonight taking on Mick Cronin and the Bruins, and then of course you've got Gonzaga and Mark Few and they're the favorite to win the national championship and go 32-0. And they're playing in Andy Edenfield and the USC Trojans. And none of these coaches, none, have ever won a championship. So. Now these programs have, like UCLA, they've got 11 banners, but none of these coaches have ever won a national title. So,
have any one of them ever played for a national? Have you even been in the title game? Period.
Mark Few. They remember.
That's right. That's right. Gonzaga.
Yeah, Gonzaga nearly won a national championship, been to the Final Four, but you just talked about it. Scott Drew gets to his first Final Four. Now Kelvin Sampson made the Final Four with Oklahoma and Hollis Price and those guys. So he's been to a Final Four before, but he has not been to a national championship game. So certainly, and then, depending on, we know Andy Edenfield has never been to one. They're playing Gonzaga. Juwan Howard, now Michigan's been to a bunch of Final Fours, a bunch of national championship games. They won it all in '89 with Ramil Robinson and Glenn Robinson and those guys. Glenn Rice, Glenn Rice and Ramil Robinson. But but Michigan has been there extensively, but Juwan Howard has not. So that's what's going to be interesting. And then
as a player,
then Mick Cronin, he had some really good teams at Cincinnati, but he's never been to a Final Four. So this is a weird season, but a lot of coaches getting an opportunity.
It's funny. Oklahoma, the Oklahoma AD and president came out and, they wished Kelvin Sampson the best. They
did a great job for him. Man. Yeah.
And, hey, there's an Oklahoma opening.
Well, it's funny. I was looking at Seth Davis's column on The Athletic.
Yeah.
And of course, we know he's been with Charles and all those guys in the coverage of this tournament. It was interesting who he put the favorite at the OU job. And it's somebody that Alabama whacked heavily. His favorite for the job is Mark Turgeon, who has been at Maryland for 10 years, and he believes maybe that Turgeon would like a fresh start elsewhere. And he has a really good record if you look at Turgeon's career as a coach.
Yeah.
He almost reminds me of a younger Lon Kruger in many ways. I think he would be a good fit there, but my guy's still out there, man. I'm campaigning for him.
John Beilein. You have campaigned for
What are you people doing? I don't care how old he is. I'm telling you right now. And thank the Lord, I don't think he's leaving. And he signed a contract extension. It was approved yesterday officially by the Board of Trustees, $3.225 million per year. But if Nate Oates had gone to Indiana, first guy on the phone, Greg Byrne, I don't care if he's 68 years old. You call John Beilein and you get him to Tuscaloosa. I'm just saying.
Well, over the weekend, Seth Greenberg, I should say.
Yes.
The guy that we've had on our show several times.
Right.
And would have joined us last week, but he was tied up with ESPN and everything there. Working hard. He threw Bruce Pearl and Eric Musselman's name in for the head coaching vacancy at Texas.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think he just threw a name on the wall to see if it would stick.
I think it's going to be Chris Beard, but we haven't had any news in the last few days, but we'll see about that. He seems to be the favorite in the clubhouse.
All right, that's hour one in the books. We're going to go to halftime. We're going to regroup and come back out and do a second half of the show for you.
Call back, Spencer.
Vanderbilt going big time.
20.
Explain when we return.
Redmont Vodka and Vulcan Gin. Alabama-made premium quality spirits, owned by our very own Charles Barkley. 8 times distilled, gluten-free, and non-GMO. Whether you choose to sip Redmont on the rocks or blended with your favorite mixers, you will definitely be able to taste the difference. Pick up some Redmont Vodka and Vulcan Gin today. Available in ABC stores and package stores. For more information, visit us at redmontdistilling.com. Also, follow us on Instagram at Redmont Distilling. Support local, enjoy responsibly.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that. Chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning from the traffic center. Just got a stalled vehicle northbound on the Parkway near Hobbs. HPD should be with it shortly. And we've got construction scheduled on the Tennessee River Bridge northbound. Right lane should be blocked off shortly. That blockage should be in place till at least noon. Snelling has immediate need for an experienced customer service rep. It is a warehouse standing position. Snelling 382-4000. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Not a bad Tuesday afternoon, a fair amount of sunshine, temperatures climbing into the low and mid-70s. You are going to notice an increase in cloud cover, especially through the second half of the afternoon and then especially into the evening. That's when we begin to introduce the opportunity for a little bit of rain that sticks with us through the overnight early into your Wednesday morning. As a matter of fact, it does look like rain in some capacity is going to be a pretty prominent feature through Wednesday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brad Musburger's Action Update. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
After March Madness, national focus will shift to the Masters, returning to the springtime in Augusta. Dustin Johnson, the current favorite at plus 800. Bryson DeChambeau at plus 1100. Justin Thomas at plus 1350. Elite Eight continues tonight. USC and Gonzaga. The Trojans a 9-point underdog. The over-under 153.5. Then Michigan and UCLA. The Wolverines a 7-point favorite, 136. The over-under. Women's Elite Eight. South Carolina an 8.5-point favorite over Texas. Over-under 130. Louisville a 10.5-point underdog against Stanford. Over-under 134. Updated odds to win the men's national championship. Gonzaga the favorite at 6-5, Baylor at 7-2, and Michigan at 9-2 odds. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 97.
As always, this segment of Talking Ball brought to you by our very, very good friends over at Terrell Technical Services Incorporated. They offer a full line of environmental health and safety services, including industrial hygiene, asbestos, mold, and bacterial services, Legionella testing and water management plans, lead-based paint inspections, assessments, and abatement plans, environmental site assessments, LEED-certified air testing, and more. Their staff holds all U.S. EPA accreditations and nationally recognized certifications and credentials to necessitate your project to completion. Give Terrell Technical Services a call today at 256-461-9278. And I'm laughing because on the TV right now was the highlights of the UConn and Baylor women's game. And the winner moves on to the Final Four last night. And it is captivating a lot of people's attention because it was the closing seconds of the game. Baylor down 1. They had the ball. They were driving, and everybody is being asked today, was it a foul or was it not a foul? And it was, obviously it was played during the men's Final Four, so a lot of people were watching the men's Final Four, but Drew now is getting his first look at whether or not it was a foul or no foul. And your reaction was priceless.
Well, I know this. There's no – I would have gotten fined a lot of money because I would have told all 3 of those officials to go straight to hell. Basically, I would have. I would have called them Mo, Larry, and Curly or whatever because that's embarrassing. I would have actually accused them. Are any of you related to Gino? Because you must be. Because she just got tackled right in front of your sorry ass. You obviously all need cataract surgeries because you have no guts. You're gutless cowards because you don't have big enough stones to blow the whistle. Okay? Those 3 officials should not work another game the rest of this tournament. That's embarrassing. They hold players accountable if they, in football, if it's targeting, or if they get a flagrant 1 or 2 in basketball, or if coaches, go off and go ballistic and they decide to tee them up because they do get angry and show emotion. But if you blow a call like that, your sorry trash ass ought to never officiate for the rest of the season. And yeah, I'm using that kind of language. That's pathetic. And don't give me this bull crap about, you got to let the kids decide it. It was decided. She got bodied up. Blow the whistle, clowns. You have to have enough guts to do your job.
Kim Mulkey, the Baylor head coach, this is how she responded at the end of the game when asked if it was a foul or not.
What did you draw up in the huddle? And what did you see when Dejanay drove the ball from where you were standing?
What did you see?
I was surprised they didn't call a foul.
Then write it like that. You don't need a quote from me. I've got still shots and video from 2 angles. One kid hits her in the face and one kid hits her on the elbow.
That was,
and I saw a picture of it, but then when you see it live, it's just so. It's really. I was already pissed off about it, and I was going to say something, but then when you see the video, I'm sorry. I wonder if they were on the take. That's what it looked like to me. These idiots, these 3 morons. That's another moron award. Just decided.
We've given out 2 today.
That UConn's winning the game. They're supposed to, so, we're not blowing the whistle because we're gutless cowards who are not very good at our job. Don't give me that. I know officiating is hard, but that wasn't hard. If I can sit here and see that, you're blowing the dadgum whistle. That's just even if you blow it late, you're a gutless coward if you don't do it. And you deserve to be suspended, and that ought to make all 3 of those idiots go in front of the media and answer the question. And that's another thing they don't do. They don't make these clowns go have to answer the question, why did you blow the call? Why were you so afraid? Why could you not have
Why were you out of position? Why were you
Why
not
could a 20-penny nail not go up the crack of your rear end because you couldn't blow the whistle?
All right, so
if you can't do it, get out. If you don't have any guts.
Oh, there we go. That's how we kick off hour number 2.
And hopefully, karma will prevail, and UConn won't win the national championship because their asses ought to be home. Can't stand them anyway.
Ball never lies. 1-888-644-3776. 1-888-644-3776. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We welcome your phone calls on this Tuesday morning. Beautiful day here in the Tennessee Valley. We appreciate you for tuning in to Talkin Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Yesterday, 10 a.m., they had a press conference in Nashville. Vanderbilt did. And kind of wondered what was all about. We knew they weren't going to get a brand new football stadium, so we knew that was not on the list. But what Vanderbilt came out with yesterday was they announced a $300 million project to improve football and basketball facilities, a new Vandy United Fund to raise money for athletic programs. The United Fund already has $200 million committed, with $100 million from the university, along with $90 million from donors, another $10 million from a booster, a member of the board of trust and lead owner of the MLS Nashville team, John R. Ingram, is going to do it, Drew. But they want to build an indoor practice facility. They want to build some stuff with the basketball side as well. Basketball will get dedicated practice courts for both men's and women's teams, along with improvements to the weight room, locker rooms, and offices. Football will get an upgraded meeting rooms, offices, training room, expanded locker room, and a full-length indoor practice field adjacent to the outdoor practice field.
Well, see, here's the thing I didn't hear in all that. $300 million. They haven't improved the stadium itself since 1982. I didn't hear anything, Scott. I mean, I understand you giving them a practice facility so they can get ready for games, but come on. I mean, my Lord, why are they not doing anything to Vanderbilt Stadium? I don't understand that. I mean, that's what I've been told. 1982, except for some like bleachers or something.
Right. Here's what they plan to do for the football stadium, okay? They plan to upgrade the fan experience with premium seating, hospitality space, more food and beverage options, and other fan amenities.
Well, that doesn't sound like much of a help to Coach Lee. I'm sorry.
But it is a positive step, though, in the right direction to get Vanderbilt.
It's not a stadium expansion. It's not a redo. I mean, I would be.
But an indoor practice facility and to get.
Big.
Vanderbilt needed something like that to compete at least on that level when it comes to football.
Yeah, I mean, I guess but you know
it doesn't overwhelm you. It doesn't excite you a ton.
I mean, I just wonder when all this is going to happen.
Because, it says here. Now, this is according to what Vanderbilt has said. Construction for both football and basketball is expected to start when the 2021 football season ends. So after this football season and basketball season is when they will start all the construction.
Well, I'm sure Coach Stack's happy about that too. I mean, Stackhouse, he's been kind of taking a knife to a gunfight. And I mean, we know Memorial Gym's a historic place, and it's a different arena. It's been around a long, long time, but they do need practice facilities. Their women's program right now is really struggling. So, I mean, it's good that they're trying to upgrade the facilities. The one thing I didn't hear mentioned in all that, and I guess they've already been spending a lot of money on it, but what about baseball? I mean, they're like a minor league pro team, bro.
Right?
I mean, I didn't hear anything about it, but I guess Corbin's already been getting his upgrades.
All right, so that is the big news from Vanderbilt that came out yesterday. $300 million to help upgrade the facilities for football and basketball. The other half of the Final Four, we've talked about the other team. The two teams that are already in the Final Four would be Baylor and Houston. The other two teams, Drew, will battle it out today. USC and Gonzaga, and UCLA and Michigan. So the Final Four will be set when we sit back in our chairs tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it will, and it's going to be some interesting games tonight. The first one, of course, that USC-Gonzaga game. I'm really anxious to see that zone for Andy Edenfield, those athletes, the Mobley brothers. Can they, push Gonzaga? And then, of course, the late-night game. If you're an Alabama basketball fan, it's bittersweet. You've got to see if UCLA can run a 9 o'clock tip-off against the Michigan Wolverines. UCLA is going to be – they've been underdog, I mean, pretty much throughout the tournament, almost every round. But they've been able to find a way to advance. And can they continue with the magic? They made some huge shots against Alabama. I think this is where it runs out. I think Michigan's the better team, but certainly two interesting matchups tonight. And as we talked about, coaches, every coach left in this tournament, Scott, no one has won a national title. So someone is going to add that to their resume.
All right, so I was kind of perusing through some of the social media feeds from last night, and there are some national media members that obviously are in attendance at the men's Final Four and that have been up there.
Are they
in
wearing a
Indianapolis.
mask?
But the one thing that they commented on was exactly what you were saying last week, and you said this. And they were saying that obviously things now have been moved to Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
And they said that normally it is a fantastic environment for basketball. It is a beautiful building. The fans are on top of everything. It is a great environment. It is raucous when it gets going. It's fun. But they said now it is just with the few fans that are in there, especially last night for the Final Four, the crowd noise felt empty. It just didn't. It felt cavernous. It didn't feel right. And that Hinkle Fieldhouse has been so good with atmosphere, so good with everything, that there's national media now questioning, hey, we should have just played this whole thing, the Final Four and the championship game, if it's limited attendance, should have just played it inside Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Why don't they?
That's exactly what you said last week. We were sitting here and you were like, I just think we should have done it at Hinkle.
Well, they still can. Why not?
I was wondering that though too. Why do you have to play it in Lucas Oil Stadium?
During a pandemic, why are you playing it in some cavern when there's no, you're not letting any fans in? Well, then let more fans in. You know what I'm saying? Who cares what Joe says? Let them in. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, because trust me, you still got plenty of ways to social distance in that cavern and get more people in to experience a Final Four. Okay. I mean, and then I was before Arkansas got whipped last night, and they had a great run, but they were talking about how the biggest thing that they enjoyed after clinching the Elite Eight was actually being around some of their fans who were in Indianapolis. He's like, they'd come out of the locker room. Now they were behind a
safety shield or whatever you want to call it.
Safety shield, a temporary fence, whatever. But still, they were there. And they were able to take pictures and call the hogs and whatever. So that's what I'm saying. At least they had some atmosphere, because it's just really difficult. I mean, because you're in this bubble. And again, they knew the drill beforehand. But it's just not the same when you don't have fans in the stands like you think you should.
I'm worried that's what we're going to get on the national championship night, is that it's going to be in Lucas Oil. It's going to be big. The floor is going to look like it has been, and it's just going to feel empty. And it's not going to feel like it. I think if we would have stayed inside Hinkle Fieldhouse, even that the Alabama-UCLA game was exciting. But the fans, you could hear the fans. You could hear them stomping on the bleachers. You could hear all of it. It kind of created a lot of atmosphere for that game. And it helped that game, because that game was already a great game anyway. But it helped it. It just and I think we're going to lose a lot of that when it comes national championship night.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about as well. And I think it's interesting. They're still keeping it the schedule the same for the semifinals and finals, Saturday and Monday.
Right.
But it's interesting because they're giving the teams that played yesterday an extra day, because you get a little bit one extra day to prepare, even though, again, it's only 24 hours. But I just thought that was interesting. But, I mean, it's been, so far, hopefully, I thought it was interesting, too. Kim Mulkey said after the Baylor game, and they were robbed by Mo, Larry, and Curley.
You want to hear what she had to say?
Yeah, we can talk about what she had to say about what should happen with the testing protocols. She had some interesting comments about testing going into the Final Four.
I don't think my words will matter, but after the games today and tomorrow, there's 4 teams left, I think, on the men's side and the women's side. They need to dump the COVID testing. Wouldn't it be a shame to keep COVID testing, and then you got kids that end up having test positive or something, and they don't get to play in the Final Four? So you need to just forget the COVID test and let the 4 teams that are playing in each Final Four go battle it out.
Of course, she's facing a lot of heat from a lot of people.
Probably Pat Forty, probably the rest of the Corona Bros. And I didn't look at Dan Woken, but I'm sure they all went ballistic when she said that, because those idiots didn't think we would even be here playing in the first place. Don't think we should be. You know, I personally think they should be kicked out of covering the tournament.
But she has a point, though. I mean, if we've come this far, it would be a shame. It would be a shame if either, you got 8 teams. At the end of the night, you'll have 8 teams, 4 on the women's side, 4 on the men's left. It'd be a shame if you would have to not play a Final Four game because of.
Well, and we've only had one really vacation, and what I mean by that, or a game not played that was canceled, right. And that was, of course, VCU. Poor vernacular on my part, but yeah, we've only had one postponement or cancellation, and that was Virginia Commonwealth. Unfortunately, right before a first round game against Oregon, that I think they would have lost anyway. But those kids deserved to play, and it was sad that we had some positive tests so far. The bubble has worked beautifully. Everybody's taken their precautions. Everybody's been able to get a chance to compete, and hopefully we'll have 2 more games tonight, and then. Of course, there'll be some testing over the next few days, but hopefully we won't have any issues heading into the Final Four with any of these teams.
All right. One quick note from Alabama's Pro Day, which is the second one. Najee Harris, he will work out for scouts.
That's right.
However, he is not going to run the 40 today. He's going to do everything else, but he's not going to run the 40 according to Ian Rappaport. Because of the ankle injury that he suffered late in the season, it hasn't been afforded the required time to fully heal. So Najee Harris will not run the 40 today in Bama's second pro day, but he will do everything else.
Yeah, it looks like Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle will not work out. They may end up having their own private workouts. Mac Jones, as we said, will be throwing. And, but he will, but Najee Harris will run routes for him.
Yes, he's just not going to run the 40. All right, let's get our break in because when we come back, we've got to bring in our second guest of the morning. And this could get entertaining. I'm just saying, he's got a great sense of humor and a great opinion on a lot of things, especially on how disastrous Drew the Big Ten was in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but he does a great job at hosting the Valenti Show on 971 The Ticket XYT. He's also a guest on the Press Pass All-Stars quite a lot. That
blockage will be in place until about noon. Popeye Shrimp Tackle Box or Surf and Turf, both for $5 right now. 8 crunchy buttermilk shrimp with a side and biscuit, or 4 regular shrimp, side and biscuit. Popeyes, Jordan Lane, North Parkway, and 72 at Jeff Road. Captain Nick in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
This week, our Zone Deal features Old Dad's Barbecue, a small family business that's been serving up mouth-watering barbecue for 26 years right down from Hazel Green High School. Try one of Old Dad's 3 family specials: stuffed pork potatoes, pork nachos, pork loaded fries, pork plates, and a side of jalapeno hush puppies. And wash it all down with some of Old Dad's famous sweet tea by the glass or the gallon. Get $50 worth of delicious Old Dad's Barbecue for just $25 with our Zone Deal. On sale now at 977ESPN.com.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well-trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Guys, when we were 20, we never had to worry about spontaneity. And now that we've gotten older, spontaneity has been replaced with pills and injections. We're just trying to keep that intimacy, but it's taken away from spontaneity. At Advanced Life Clinic, we now offer GainsWave, which uses sound waves to non-invasively treat this issue with no need for pills or injections. Just give us a call, 256-888-9367, or check us out online, advancedlifeclinic.com.
Terrell Technical Services in Madison offers a full line of environmental health and safety services, including industrial hygiene, asbestos, mold, and bacterial services, Legionella testing, and water management plans, lead-based paint inspections, assessments, and abatement plans, environmental site assessments, LEED certified air testing, and more. Their staff holds all EPA accreditations and nationally recognized certifications and credentials to necessitate your project to completion. Give Terrell Technical Services a call today at 256-461-9278 to discuss your environmental health or safety needs. And go Army!
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up at noon today. Now, back to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Here on this beautiful, and I mean beautiful, Tuesday morning. The sun is shining here in the Tennessee Valley. And don't forget, folks, we are closing in on opening day of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So baseball quickly coming to the area. I know it's been a while, so with the sun shining, the grass is starting to green up. We are getting ready for baseball, but we'll talk that when the time gets closer. What we need to talk about now is a lot of college basketball on the Big Ten level, because we've kind of laughed at how disappointing it was for them. And but they still have Michigan with a chance to win the whole thing.
Yes, they do. But our next guest also is very familiar with Nate Oates. He covered him at Romulus High School. From the when he was in Michigan, when he built one of the best basketball programs and was a big part of the fabric of high school basketball in the state. And of course, as we know, Rico from Detroit, a proud native of there from Southwest Detroit, he covers the Michigan State Spartans and really the entire Big Ten, and he's a huge part of 971 The Ticket XYT, and he's a co-host of the Valenti Show, and they have a great program there. And then, of course, as we said, going to break, he's also part of the Press Press All-Stars. He's covered the Michigan State Spartans for many, many years, and the Big Ten as well. And we always love catching up around this time of year with our good friend Rico Beard. Rico, you're back in Huntsville with Drew and Scott. How are you?
Hey, Drew and Scott, I'm good. After that introduction, I just want to go ahead and take a bow and tell everybody tip your waiters and waitresses and have meatloaf.
Absolutely. And let's get right to it. You were very outspoken when Nate Oates went from Buffalo to Alabama, and that the success you said he would have. You probably more than anyone were not surprised at what he did by year two at Alabama and going to the Sweet 16 and winning the league and the SEC and tournament and regular season. But your thoughts on Nate Oates and what he's done at Alabama thus far?
I mean, I think he's turned that program around. When you look at Alabama basketball, you guys are now a basketball and football school. I think that from here on out, you'll look at Alabama, you'll look at Kentucky, you'll probably look at Florida as the three mainstays in the SEC when it comes to basketball. He's going to keep bringing in top players. And I think for Alabama and Nate Oates and Alabama basketball, the next corner they have to turn is getting ready and embracing the bright lights. Because that, to me, was the only problem that they had this year. Every time they had a chance to really put a staple on the season, the lights turned bright, and they just didn't have their best game.
Yeah, we were kind of alluding to that, and we asked the question yesterday, define the season for Alabama, disappointing loss or a disappointing season with the way things ended against UCLA?
I think it was just a disappointing loss. It can't be a disappointing season because Alabama basketball was one of the best teams in college this year. But you can't shoot 44% from the free throw line. And that's against an 11 seed in UCLA. I mean, everything was there for Bama to be playing tonight against Michigan, and they just did not get it done. But you can't say it was a disappointing season because at this point, you got to take a step back and look at the history of Alabama basketball in the past few years. This was a good season, just a bad loss. But you got to remember, 67 teams are going to end up with a bad loss at the end of this tournament.
Yeah, they are. There's no doubt about it. As I've told some people, unless you cut the nets down, it's going to be disappointing. So But a huge step forward for Nate Oates in year 2. And the recruiting has been lights out. He's got what could potentially end up being a top 5 class in the country if they can add Charles Bediako and a guy like Namari Burnett, a transfer in the late period. But I've even had someone tell me, and you'll know better than anyone what we're going to talk about, Rico. I was told that Rocket Watts would be a perfect fit for Alabama. Where do you expect Rocket to go? I know he went into the portal. He was a big part of Michigan State basketball, but it sounds like he and Coach Izzo reached common ground, and he's going to, finish his career elsewhere.
I think, you know what, actually, now that you say that, Rocket would fit in well with the Alabama offense. The problem for this year was he was asked to do something that he wasn't really comfortable doing, and his career kind of took a step back. He was asked to become the point guard. He embraced it. He wanted to be the point guard, but then he found out it takes a lot more to be a point guard than just bringing the ball up the court. His game suffered. They kind of took that from him. He didn't play as many minutes because I don't know if he and Izzo just didn't see eye to eye, but when he's playing his game at a 2 guard, he's a lights out shooter. He's quicker than I don't know what, able to get to the basket. So he would fit there. I'm looking at him, though, right now. Unless Alabama jumped into the mix, I'm probably thinking he's headed to either Florida State or Louisville.
Interesting. Wow. Very interesting.
Rico, your thoughts as a whole, though, on how the Big Ten fared in the NCAA tournament. If you could sum it up in a couple words, what would it be?
I would probably go back to the late 80s. A song by Public Enemy said, "Don't believe the hype." Yeah, the Big Ten was not as good as they thought that they were. It was like, we got the 3 of the top teams and the top 5 teams. Well, we found out later that they were paper champions. That the lack of non-conference games really didn't tell you how good this conference was going to be. The fact that you had 9 teams in there, and by the end of the first weekend, you had 1 left. That's very telling for the conference, but it's Michigan in there now, and Michigan's actually doing it with a little bit of smoke and mirrors. That's why if Alabama just got to this game, Michigan is without one of their star players in Isaiah Livers. They just probably played 2 of the most undisciplined teams in the country. I honestly don't know what Will Wade does at LSU. He's got athletes. This man
he gives out strong-ass offers is what he does.
What'd you say?
I said he gives out strong-ass offers. That's what he does.
He's filling up paper bags. Oh, wait, that's Tennessee that does that. But he's doing something there, but he doesn't coach. Like, you had the lead. You were beating Michigan, and you were just sitting there, and you watch your 9-point lead go away. No timeout. What are you, the team concierge? Hey, guys, you want some Powerade, Gatorade? What exactly would you like to drink? What do you want to do after the game? I can find it out. I can find it out for you. That guy's a joke. They just played 2 undisciplined teams. Now they're going up against UCLA, a team that knocked out Michigan State in overtime, knocked out Alabama in overtime. UCLA is riding the Lucky Charms wave. I don't know how. Nothing matters to them because they shouldn't be there. Michigan will have all the pressure tonight. I guess I'm supposed to say that I want Michigan to win for the Big Ten, but my God, I may be wearing a UCLA Bruins jersey tonight.
Well, I guess, Rico, how good is this Michigan team? I mean, they have, at least it seems like, tried to find some other answers after losing Isaiah Livers. They were a heavy favorite to reach the Final Four before his injury. He's now out for the year. They were on the short list as one of the top 3 teams in the country to win the national championship. But now with this new dynamic that they've got going, it's definitely on paper they should beat UCLA, but can this team still win it all?
I don't think they can win it all, guys. I mean, right now, Gonzaga's out there holding open practices against opponents. They're shooting 60% from the field. They're just doing ridiculous things. Baylor may be able to give Gonzaga a little bit of a run, but this may be the first team that goes undefeated since 1976. I don't see anybody who can beat Gonzaga unless Gonzaga comes out and plays a D- game. Because even their C game is enough to beat everybody else in the tournament. Wow. Now, as far as Michigan goes, they're good. They're disciplined. Michigan's not going to beat themselves. Michigan's going to allow you to do dumb things, and they're like, you know what? If you're shooting yourselves in the foot, we're not going to take the gun away from you. You just keep on shooting. We'll keep on making baskets, and we'll send you home.
Yeah.
Well, and two, I think we've gotten to see a lot more of Gonzaga during the non-conference portion. Gonzaga did get a few big-time non-conference games in, so I think we probably have a lot more faith in Gonzaga. True?
Oh, you should. I mean, if you watch them play, they got 3 NBA players on their team. You know, Jalen Suggs is the point guard that Mark Few never has had. This is the guy that's going to make them go undefeated, and they're going to be cutting down the nets in about another week.
Well, I want to stay in the Big Ten real fast. What did you make of the new Indiana hire, getting Mike Woodson out of the NBA?
I don't understand.
And then bringing in Thad Matta to basically oversee everything.
I mean, I thought the Indiana just kind of gave up and said, we don't want to play basketball anymore. Well, let's just go ahead and bring Mike Woodson in. Yeah, if that's going to help you win games. Oh, no, by the way, we'll have the coach in waiting, the office right next to him when this fails. Like, why do you hire a coach and then hire the second coach because you know the first coach is going to fail? Why not just hire Thad Matta and eliminate the middleman? That's what I thought. But if this is what Indiana wants to do, I mean, they're desperate right now because this is a former blue blood program that, let's just face it, guys, they haven't, the first time ever, they didn't send an entire class to the tournament. Like, their seniors never made the tournament.
Wow.
First time ever. Yeah.
That is crazy. I mean, I don't understand. And Rico, you covered him. You know how good a coach he is. Why is it just because he's 68? Why would they not talk to John Beilein?
I think that you just nailed it because he is 68. And would John Beilein want to take the job? They didn't have a search firm. The AD just kind of went in there and said, I know what I'm doing. You guys have to trust me. And this is how people get fired because you're right. You got John Beilein, but you had a lot of Porter Mosley, the Loyola Chicago coach.
Porter Mosley, yep.
Not that far from you. Okay, he's the hottest name. There's so many other coaches that they could have gone after, and they went after him. I guess they thought, well, it worked for Michigan with Juwan Howard. It worked for Georgetown with Patrick Ewing. Let's go get a former Bobby Knight player. These kids don't know who Bobby Knight is. Like, who's that guy? He looks angry. Well, he did. He coached angry. But that's all they know about him. They got to look to their parents and their grandparents. Hey, can you tell me who Bobby Knight is? This was a bad hire on their part. There were so many other candidates out there, and they chose to go here. I mean, they're desperate. Imagine Alabama or Auburn football, and they don't make a bowl game in 4 straight years. How desperate would your fan base be?
Yeah.
And that's Indiana.
Wow.
And Rico, I want to, because I thought he would succeed. I liked his program at Dayton and his lineage. Why did Archie Miller fail in your mind?
It goes back to Alabama basketball. There's certain programs and certain schools have an unrealistic expectation of what their team should be. Look at Texas football. Look at Notre Dame football. Look at Michigan football. Look at Tennessee football. They run coaches out of there because you don't win the national title your first year because we're supposed to be so much better. So once Archie started losing games, then he lost support of the fans. He lost the support of the rich alums because they expect perfection immediately. And that's why these teams will constantly keep chasing after coaches because no one will ever bring them the title and respect that they think that they deserve, rather than just going out there and winning it and being patient. If you look at certain schools, if you're patient, you get titles. If you're patient, you start winning. But when you start flipping coaches every 3 years, well, you keep flipping coaches every 3 years.
Yeah, makes you respect the guys and the programs that have kept coaches, kind of like a Tom Izzo. I mean, Tom Izzo came in and had success, but there has been seasons where, like this year, where obviously you battle COVID and everything, but you make the play-in game, and next year's next year. You move on.
It is, and it's funny because just like that, the Michigan State fan base, I had to tell them, like, guys, are you really that spoiled? Well, the game is passing Izzo by. Really? He just won 3 straight Big Ten titles. He knocked off Zion Williamson and that Duke super team to make the Final Four 2 years ago. He had his worst year in like 28 years, but you're telling me the game passed him by. Okay, but that's fan bases. You got to every now and then you got to remember fan is short for fanatic. These people are clueless and idiots, and if they had their way, every team would get gutted and every team would get a brand new coach every year.
That's a great point. We're talking to Rico Beard, of course, as we said, co-host of the Valenti Show. Does a great job covering the Big Ten and the Michigan State Spartans. What about the future for Michigan State? We know what Juwan Howard's doing. We know Rocket Watts is in the portal. What's this roster going to look like next year? We were really happy and proud this year to see Josh Langford healthy and back on the floor for Michigan State. But what does the roster look like next year going into the, a bounce-back year, hopefully, for the Spartans?
Well, speaking of Josh Langford, he said that he played his last game. Now, we don't know if Josh is going to transfer because technically he still has one more year, so maybe you guys can get him to come down to Alabama to finish out his final year in college. But next year's team is going to look a lot better. The thing that was missing this year was a point guard. They just didn't have it. Izzo addressed that immediately. He went into the transfer portal, got a guy named Tyson Walker from Northeastern. He was like the CAA Defensive Player of the Year, averaging like 19 points, 5 assists a game. So this is the kid that's going to come in and immediately start. Plus, he's got some pretty good freshmen. I think he has like the number 5 recruiting class, and possibly they're working on getting Amani Bates, who will be the number 1 player in next year's class, to reclassify and join the team this year. So I don't think you won't be crying for Izzo for too long. So this is one of those years. This year, you take out your pound of flesh when you're beating him, because next year you'll have that Spartan team right back to where they used to be.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Josh Langford really go back and finish his career with a team that can make a run. That would be great. I hope he changes his mind. We'll see.
He looked like an old man, though. I looked at him on TV, and I was like, man, that guy has he is all. I mean, he's been there forever, but he is definitely, look like he has been in college 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, trust me, he's buying beer for everybody, Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he wanted to come back year number 6. So I think for him, he just needs to change the scenery.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Well, no spring football going on up there, Michigan State. Are they getting ready to do spring?
Yeah, they're in the middle of spring practice right now. Mel Tucker is using the transfer portal like it's Tinder. I mean, he is going on there. Nope, yes, no. I mean, put it this way, come the fall, 40% of the kids on the team weren't there last year.
Wow.
He came out and pretty much, without saying it, that, this team that Mark D'Antonio left me, these kids shouldn't even been here. They should not be in the Big Ten schools. So he's flipping the roster. 40% of the guys are gone. He brought in new quarterbacks, new running backs, new everything, new offensive linemen. Okay, seriously, guys, you guys know football. You can't win a lot of games when your left tackle is 6'3" and 265 pounds.
No,
come on, man.
Not today. Ew. No.
Yeah, so
maybe in 91.
Right. Like, okay, yeah, this is not, the leather helmet days. So he's upgraded the O-line. They're all like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". I think he's doing a good job. We're going to see him turning the corner. He bought himself a lot of time by knocking off Jim Harbaugh in Michigan in the first year. So that, for his first win, that kept a lot of people off his back.
No doubt. And then last thing, I know to circle back to Nate Oates and what he's doing and how he's recruiting so far. I know you saw him at Romulus, in the state of Michigan, build a powerhouse program there. He did a great job at Buffalo. In your mind, can he eventually get Alabama to a Final Four? Can he win a national championship at Tuscaloosa?
Well, I think he can. I mean, the fact that I don't think he'll have the pressure from the fan base because you guys are, football first. But, he's bringing in top talent. And this was a team that that could make it to the Final Four. He just has to learn how to get them over that hump when the pressure is on. That's like one of the things that makes Tom Izzo so good in the tournament, because there's a different mindset. You have to play the games a little bit differently in the tournament because it is lose and go home.
Yeah.
But I absolutely, I think that Nate Oates can do it. I just think that it's a process like everybody else. Once he gets out of his first Elite Eight and makes it to the Final Four, he's going to go to the Final Four a lot of times because he'll know then what it takes. It's why they call Izzo Mr. March, because even with bad teams, he knows what it takes to break them down and find the other team's weakness to get, to take it to the next level, though. But I'll tell you this, guys, and I had to have this conversation with my radio partner. A lot of people think that Alabama is a placeholder for the next coach of Michigan State. And I keep saying, I don't think he's leaving because life is just going to be too good in the SEC. Why would you want to put up with the headaches of the Big Ten when Nate Oates could run the SEC? It'll be it'll be Alabama and Kentucky for the next couple of years. So I don't think he's going to leave. At first I thought he was, but now I think he's found a home. Unless he goes to the NBA, I think he's going to be at Bama for a while.
Well, that's great news for the state of Alabama and Nate Oates. But great stuff, Rico, man. We love talking with you. Great insight into college basketball in the Big Ten. And we love Coach Izzo here. I've always admired his program, and we know he's going to bounce back. Matter of fact, I've told people, I watched that game. You block out on a free throw, then Michigan State wins the game against UCLA. And I had Michigan State playing Alabama in the Sweet 16. So I thought Coach Izzo, Mr. March, would get his team rolling. But I know they're going to bounce back, man. But thank you. Go ahead.
I had the same game, too. Yeah, I had Michigan State and Alabama in the Sweet 16. Aaron Henry plays the worst 36 seconds of his life at the end of the game. He doesn't block out, and he shoots an air ball, and it goes to overtime. So,
yeah.
But no, guys, thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks, Rico. Good stuff there. Rico Beard joining us. Let's get our final break in when we come back. Tomorrow's headlines today.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a couple of problems we're trying to get out of the way now. We had a wreck on County Line north of Madison Boulevard, and we had a stall northbound on the Parkway near Hobbs Road. Both of those should be clearing. And we've got construction work or repair work northbound I-65 Tennessee River Bridge. They plan to have the right lane blocked off there until at least noon. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the Heart Doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. Still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatewitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that. Chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at baddaddysburgerbar.com.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com. You're listening to the most awarded and most listened to sports talk radio station in North Alabama.
Thank you to all our fans.
Thank you for listening and supporting us.
Doesn't get any better than this.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
9.5, Mike's on.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, Jordy, I know you're going to help us out with a couple more of these tomorrow's headlines today, but before you do that, I want to get to one because we love to make fun of the NCAA on this show because they just sometimes do things backwards. They did something backwards last night because of COVID protocol, Drew. This is what the NCAA did to Oregon State last night. As soon as they got back to the hotel after they lost in their Elite Eight game, they were told they had to pack up and get on a 1:15 a.m. flight back to Eugene and then go to Corvallis from there. Everyone had to hurriedly pack and head to the airport. They arrive in Corvallis at 4 a.m. on Tuesday. So that is what happened to the NCAA. That's what the NCAA did to Oregon State after they lost their Elite Eight game. They had basically an hour or so, hour and a half to pack up out of their hotel and get out of there.
Vaccine, where is it? Get it done. Tired of this.
Jordy, help us out.
All right, so Ole Miss, they're hotter than fish grease right now in SEC play.
In baseball.
Yes. In baseball. They are 6-0 for the first time since, wait for it, Archie Manning was their starting shortstop.
And he was a heck of an athlete. And, of course,
I didn't realize he played football and baseball.
Oh, yeah. If you ever watch the Book of Manning, and I've watched it 6,529 times because I love the Mannings.
You count every time.
I'm just being facetious there, but I have watched it several times.
Just threw out a specific number.
You want to interview Bill Walton.
I do.
On my list is Archie Manning. I would love to one day speak to Archie Manning. But again, he was a great athlete from Drew, Mississippi. He was a two-sport guy, no doubt about it, and was a great baseball player for the Rebels. As Jordy said, the Rebels are 6-0 because they swept Alabama and Auburn. So they've already got a piece of both the Tide and Tigers. But Mike Bianco's team's ranked in the top 3 in the country. He's right; they're red hot. And Jordy, I know there's another storyline you were following.
Yeah, so former Cleveland Browns head coach Hugh Jackson was doing a little reminiscing or maybe having some nightmares about the botched trade that would have sent A.J. McCarron to Cleveland back in 2017. So Jackson believes had he had McCarron, they wouldn't have gone 0-16, and maybe they would have won a game or two.
Well, and that A.J. probably doesn't like hearing that from the standpoint it just probably makes him lament. He's never been given a chance to be a starter in the NFL. But he might be this year, considering that the guy he backs up could be in prison. We understand that because I think the lawsuits are up to 19 for Deshaun Never Be a Dolphin Watson. And thank the Lord that the Dolphins didn't make that stupid trade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because now the Dolphins have a plethora, a slew of draft picks to use for the upcoming draft. And, I mean, they could take pretty much anybody they want.
And the headlines tomorrow will be the Final Four. Is it completed? Is Gonzaga?
Well, it will be completed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's